Hey YouTube, it's Hannah Loba. If you want more MotoAmerica content, check out the new and vastly improved MotoAmerica Live Plus app. It's the only place you can catch all the race action in one place all season long. Click the link in the description below.
And when they're off, we're away racing. But now revs are up. Here we go. And looks like the front row got a good launch. The number 2, though, of Josh Herron on that Warhorse HSBK Racing Ducati got a good launch, but it's the number 1 Attack Performance Yamaha of Jake Gagne, who will lead us up the hill to turn number 2.
Yeah, and this is where it gets tricky. You want to just try to get kind of single file up here. There's not a lot of room. You don't want to get yourself left hung out to dry in this spot, because that grass is going to be slippery along with that red clay. One guy that didn't get a good start was Cameron Beaubier. I saw Ashton Yates actually in front of Beaubier as they head through that first 2 and 3 section. At the front, though, it's Gagne over SDK. So Sean Dillon Kelly, straight from Europe, comes here and slots himself into second. And the guy who was quick this morning is in third, JD Beach. JD Beach running third on that Tytler's BMW, and he kept on setting faster and faster times this morning, Greg, in the wet. So for JD Beach, we've seen him win in these conditions before, and he's put himself into third place right off the bat.
There's Josh Herron, the number 2, in 4th place. But here we go, our first time down the back straightaway.
And that's a Honda in 5th. I think that's Hayden Gillum, isn't it? Or no, it's
that's
Ashton Yates. Ashton Yates is doing a tremendous job, I believe, on a stock 1000 bike. Ashton Yates has got himself into 5th, looking up underneath Herron here. So you got Herron, and look at Hayden Gillum's in deep.
Oh,
yeah,
boy.
Hayden went in there a little bit deep. He gets it saved and gets it back on track. So Gillum was in there deep and slotted himself between Beaubier and another rider. So yeah.
Ashton Yates coming from 14th.
What a start from Ashton Yates. I would have loved to have seen his first couple turns for sure. Yeah, this kid works really hard. He's one of my favorite guys to kind of follow on Instagram, because I see Cam Beaubier back there has got through Herron. But all the time, Ashton's doing something to keep himself ready and fit and for these races. And it's just nice. Hey, Greg, we got a Honda in the top 5, and I like seeing that as well. And right now, Camp Peterson recovering from a bit of a bad start as
Beaubier's going
goes
for it.
up underneath Ashton Yates. So that's going to put him up into that 4th place spot, the number 6.
But they changed ride height, fork setting, pitch, wheelbase, shock, linkage, all to improve the feel. Overall, the speed is so slower, so you have to really account for how the suspension acts. But he said you can't abuse the chassis the same way that you would in a dry setup.
Yeah, and unfortunately, abusing the traction level available is Ashton Yates. And what could have been a storied finish for him, unfortunately, he goes down. And one note about our current leader, the number 1 of Jake Gagne. In his post-race interview yesterday, Jason, he said that the last half of the race was a bit of a struggle for him. He didn't identify what he was talking about. Was it the setup of the bike? Was it the tires? But just talking with him this morning, he's had multiple arm pump surgeries on his right hand, the hand that controls the throttle, controls the brake. And unfortunately for Gagne, the numbness for that forearm and that hand came back yesterday, and he was just holding on. Gagne, Beach, and Beaubier. I mean, we're going back to Red Bull Rookies Cup MotoGP style.
Yep.
We're all the way back in 2008. JD Beach won that world championship. There's Gagne's pitboard. I was interested to see, Jason, what they were going to tell him. And it's very basic. He's P1, and they're telling him the distance between himself and the person behind him. It said 0.9, but that's unfortunately a little inaccurate as JD Beach continues to push the pace. Now for Gagne, he went 1/10 off his fastest, but he didn't go his fastest. JD Beach did at a 36.1. That was a second quicker. But behind him, Beaubier goes 35.5. So he gains at least 0.6 of a second on JD Beach, and he gains a 1.5 seconds on Jake Gagne.
This is going to be Herron coming out of turn last corner. He's got some sort of problem. Looks like the bike's cutting in and out. You can definitely see that.
Yeah, so for Herron, another frustrating day at the office as a pass for the lead. JD Beach off the back straightaway is going to take over the spot from the number 1, Jake Gagne. All the while, there's Beaubier within striking distance as well. Now the question is, does Gagne have anything left in the tank?
Of holding him back. We're starting to see a few of our tail end to see JD get loose right in the middle. So that's going to be over there, going over those yellow lines as well, Greg. Those yellow lines are going to be slippery also. JD had about almost half a second that time through on Gagne, but now you can see what happens. And this is a horrible place to catch, guys. And look at Gagne.
There it goes.
He chooses the right way to go, and JD kind of got hung out. Jake Gagne with a great line choice coming down the hill, goes to the inside of those back markers, and all of a sudden finds himself with about a 2.5 lead.
Wow. That was just the perfect place to be. Normally you like to be the lead bike going through the traffic. It didn't work for the 95 of JD Beach, who's coming back to racing. That might have been one of those things like, oh yeah, that's right. Just a judgment call. But that means that Cameron Beaubier's in second spot. Now we're gonna see these BMWs pull the trigger down the back straightaway and get after it. But here's another shot.
And this is the worst place that you can catch, guys, going down through here. And look at Gagne. JD was going to make a decision to go around the outside and then to the inside, and he ends up losing 2 spots, one to Gagne, one to his teammate. And like I said, he gets back past Cameron Beaubier as they get down here into turn 10. JD Beach makes that pass nice and clean. Let's see if he can get that bike squared up and not let Cameron go back by. Cameron's going to have a look down the inside. It's not going to be close enough. I also find it interesting right now that Cam Beaubier at JD again in turn 1. That's the second time in turn 1 that's happened to JD, and Cameron's going to be able to go past him this time. I was just going to say, I don't think that Cameron's been in a big hurry to get past his teammate, and it was just a little mistake there by JD Beach in turn 1 that allowed Beaubier to do something with him going up the hill. Now we'll see if Beaubier's got something for him.
JD down.
Beach down.
And boy, that happened to Jake Gagne just moments before, where the rear end of the motorcycle went completely sideways, but Gagne able to save it. JD staying in the gas, and it doesn't work out for him.
Love this guy, man. He's got so much heart. Yep. He's got that bike upright already. Look at him. He just wants to get this bike started again, and he's got it going, Greg. He's going to get this thing turned around. The gap that he had was, the gap that these guys had was 20 seconds on Cam Peterson. So I'm assuming that Cam probably maybe went through. I'm not sure. I mean, but look at that. Guy falls down at well over 100 miles an hour, runs his bike. Watch this puddle. It's going to send the Tytler's BMW sideways. He's on his head sliding backwards. Bike's going a completely different direction, and this guy's already thinking about getting up and running to his bike, Greg, because every point this year we know is going to count in our MotoAmerica Championship, and he's going to get some good points today, even though this puddle caught him out. That is a fast and scary crash.
And of course, for Cameron Beaubier, he saw Gagne go through that puddle, that tight, go sideways, and he gave himself a little bit of room where JD Beach went right over it. So for Cameron Beaubier, that last lap, he just goes 135 flat, and now is only a half a second behind Jake Gagne. Could lap traffic make a difference?
Maybe. I think they've got 1 or 2 guys directly in front of them. They're up the road a little bit. The problem is that they're going through the kink at the top of the back straightaway on rain tires on a wet to drying track at 170 plus mile an hour, Greg. So there is a lot going on, and then you've got to try to commit to making a pass going down into turn 10, knowing that there's a puddle going across the track. For Gagne, this is going to be a really important first sector to get through all this as clean as he can. He would love to be able to open up a tiny gap on Beaubier, but I just don't think Beaubier is going to let him do it.
I think Beaubier's got something in his back pocket, and that's the long straightaway speed of the BMW. So they make it through that sector, and now we're going through turn 5 and up the hill, and Gagne did not keep that one as tidy as he would like it by any stretch. Now Beaubier is going to close right in on him into turn number 6. No move needed here. All Beaubier needs to do to use the draft and pass maneuver is be nice and close at the exit of this corner, turn number 7. So here we go, the final lap of Steel Commander Superbike race number 2. Gagne gets a monster drive out of there, but Beaubier's behind the bubble. Jason, it's awfully close.
Now he's got to figure out what side he's going to pull out to, Greg, because as he gets down to the bottom here, this is where it gets a little tricky at 170 mile an hour. Gagne is going to move over to the left, and he's going to block that pass from Beaubier. He moves back out and does not give Beaubier his shot. Tremendous riding defense there by Gagne. He's got to get the bike squared up out of here and protect that inside. And that's exactly what he does as he comes over the top of the hill.
One more opportunity for Cameron Beaubier. He's got to go up the inside, but Gagne, very good maneuver to try to close the line off. Beaubier trying to square it up and get a drive, but wheel spin, and it looks like it's going to be the number 1 plate to the line, and he holds off Cameron Beaubier for a 1/10 of a second victory. And now coming down through turns 10A and 10B is going to be the 45 of Cameron Peterson on his Attack Performance Yamaha. And
Nice
Cam
recovery for
Peterson
him, huh?
coming out from injury.
It looks like Max Flinders has crashed at the top of the hill. I saw some yellow flags, but for Cam Peterson, nice rebound from yesterday to get his championship started.
Back on the podium for the South African, and a big victory for him in his march back. And it looks like J.D. Beach has gotten around Sean Dillon Kelly, and so J.D. Beach will take 4th place over SDK in 5th after wadding it up through the S's. J.D. Beach able to pick the bike up and get it going again. A tribute and tip of the cap to the Tytler Cycles team for building a motorcycle and attaching everything to the bike. That stuff didn't fall off when he fell off. But another look at the finish, and that's what 1/10 of a second looks like for Jake Gagne and Cameron Beaubier. And this is the battle that we expected to see on the regular. And boy, the second race of this 20-race season doesn't disappoint. Attack Performance Yamaha and all the work they were able to do over the winter pays off in such tricky conditions for Jake Gagne. And the rider from Colorado gets it done. Left part of your screen, this is the podium. And these are the riders we're going to hear from when we get back to Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta to talk about Steel Commander Superbike.